There is an interesting lineup note for the Edmonton Oilers that will attack that from morning skate. Jason Demers is going to swing by in about 15 minutes. Coombsy is going to be by at the top of the hour as well. So yeah, we got a couple of good guests today. Someone in the chat was saying that they're really starting to like Jason Demers, and I agree.
Me too. He's rubbing off on me.
What's the over-under on F-bombs from Demers? I think it's a great question.
2.5.
Yeah,
I think that's a good one.
I could see that. I could see that as well. But let's talk a little bit. Let's get into it with the Sherwood Ford Giant question, Liam. And I know people were asking it in the chat, but our Jason Greger reporting from Morning Skate that it sounds like Adam Henrique will not be available tomorrow night for the Edmonton Oilers. So Edmonton will lose their top line left wing. It sounds like it's something down in the below the knee area, I think is what we can say with Adam Henrique.
Lower leg injury.
Lower leg injury. We can get about that specific. So no Henrique for the Oilers. This is how they skated today in Edmonton. It was Janmark with McDavid and Hyman, Nuge with Draisaitl and Kane, Holloway with McLeod and Perry. Fogle stays on the fourth line with a rotation of Derek Ryan and Sam Carrick and Connor Brown on the right side. Let's start at the top of the lineup, though. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of Mattias Janmark coming up in this game next to Connor McDavid. The Sherwood Ford Giant question, is that the right call?
Putting Janmark up there?
Yeah.
Well, you know what you're going to get from him, right? And it's just reliable hockey. And I think, isn't that what Adam Henrique is too? Like, I know Henrique is a bit more to him, obviously. He's a better player, but he's reliable. He's trustworthy. You know what he's going to go out there and do.
Is Janmark the dollar store Adam Henrique?
Bingo. Your, what do they call that? Your discount.
Yeah.
Discount
No name Adam Henrique.
Yeah, like he probably is. And that's not to be disrespectful to Janmark, but he's going to go out there. He's going to win a lot of puck battles. He's going to play hard. I know a lot of people want Dylan Holloway on that line. I actually don't think it's a bad idea to keep him away from McDavid and just rotate McDavid through him. They'll probably rotate some wingers through that spot too.
Yeah, so Jason Greger with this. Knobloch said they don't have one guy who can replace Henrique. We'll have a few guys take shifts on the top line with McDavid and Hyman. Janmark will start there, but wants him fresh for PK, so others will get looks. Brown will come in and play on the fourth line right wing. That last note, let's just take it and park it.
Brown?
Yeah, park the Brown thing for a second. We'll talk about that. Mulick is in and says, but honestly, Holloway should be there. Look at what Johnson is doing in Dallas right now. And I get that to an extent, but I also think sheltering Holloway from the difficult matchups, I see the logic there. Playing a guy who is just mistake-free on the top line, which is exactly what Mattias Janmark will bring you. You know, he might not make a ton of plays, but he's not going to make a ton of bad plays either. And we were talking with some of the sales staff here. Very, very smart individuals at Sherwood Ford the Giant. And it's kind of like, you know, that top line is the McDavid Hyman show. They will kind of go as far as McDavid and Hyman take them. And if Janmark can just work hard along the boards, get pucks to the front of the net, go to the front of the net himself, it'll probably end up working out okay-ish here. And what do the Oilers like to do coming out of PKs and things like that? They like to load up offensively. So I even think there's a chance coming out of a PK, we see McDavid, Draisaitl, and Holloway as a line.
Totally.
And we see them like really load up a top unit and give Holloway some extra minutes there. I think we will see, and Mulick, I know you said you want 7+ minutes for Holloway with McDavid. I think it'll be lower than that. But I think realistically, you can expect Dylan Holloway to get 4 to 5 minutes with Connor McDavid in the game tomorrow.
Yeah, they'll play a bunch together. I mean, I'm not going to put a cap on it. I think what Knobloch has done with his lines throughout, especially on the road, like I noticed it a lot in LA, and I'm sure this happens a lot too. But like he was not afraid to like try and mix things up and try and confuse the Kings, I guess you could say, especially on defensive zone draws, like throw out a random group out there, like. I fully expect to see that again against Vancouver, who I would say are a deeper team than the Canucks were. So, again, just Janmark being there, I don't think that's like a staple for that top line. I think he'll be there to start the game, and then, like you said, when penalty kills come around, maybe we'll see other guys rotate through.
Dangerous Wade is in and says, is it a non-game day if we aren't comparing Holloway to Johnston?
Sure.
Zach is in. Miller's going to be all over Connor this series. We're going to need a speedy puck mover with smarts to play with Connor and Hymes for the first 2 games. Holloway, Nuge, that's a decent point as well, but there's also a part of me that kind of goes like, whoever's on the left side, it's going to be on McDavid to break free from JT Miller. It's not going to be on whoever's playing on the left side, and you could sit there and say, okay, yeah, we want to throw some more skill up there. Maybe you reunite the Nuge, McDavid, and Hyman trio, which I don't honestly hate. But then what are you doing on the second line? Are you going with Fogle next to Draisaitl and Kane? Are you moving up Holloway there? Are you comfortable enough with him getting the second toughest defensive matchups in the game for the Oilers? I don't know. I think another thing this probably shows us, Liam, is that the injury to Henrique might not be all that serious.
Yeah, and you're right. If it was that bad, then it'd probably be a little bit more jumbling to balance things out. But what I'll say about JT Miller shadowing McDavid, while Miller, yes, will do a good job of doing that. He's a great player. The LA Kings basically put 5 players on McDavid and he had 13 points in 5 games. Like, I'm not really worried about it. I think McDavid, who is the best player in the world, will find a way to break through JT Miller. Like, I don't think that should be a concern for us. Yes, it will be a difficult task, but Zach Hyman's also a 50-goal guy. Like, I'm not too worried about the speed. It's not like Adam Henrique's out there with all this speed, right? Like, it's not something I'm concerned about. McDavid will figure it out.
Yeah, Cole Blight is in. Miller on McDavid means EP 40 on Draisaitl, who will absolutely eat his lunch. Probably means Elias Lindholm on Draisaitl, actually, and Patterson's going to get to go up against the Oilers' third line. Dude guy, I can see McDavid leaving Miller in the dust. Miller does scare me a bit in the playoffs. Player. He's a gamer. He's very good, man.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's not to underestimate him, but let's not forget how good McDavid and Draisaitl have been.
Yeah. Does seeing Matthew, and this from Ben Gleason, who, not the real Ben Gleason.
Well, maybe
he's just
too busy.
Yeah, fair. Does seeing Nyes perform well with top liners in Toronto give you more hope for Holloway on the top line to perform? Again, you look at Nyes during the regular season, that guy scored 15 goals. And yeah, he played a lot, 13-40 a night. Mm-hmm. That's not exactly top line minutes that Matthew Nyes was getting, though, in that spot. So does it give me a little bit of hope? I'll honestly say no, just because we've seen Holloway play well already in these playoffs, and I'm not sitting here overly concerned about his ability to slide up and contribute. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm not taking anything from the Nyes performance. I think they're just two different players.
I think they're very different players. Yeah, I understand why we always compare prospects and stuff like that. Guys around a similar age, but I just think they're just different. They're just different players, and yeah, it's the Wyatt Johnson thing, like Dangerous Wade mentioned before too. Like, if that's a Western Conference final matchup, then we're going to talk about that a lot too. But it's also based off circumstance. Like, the Oilers don't need to and haven't needed to force Holloway into a top 6 role, really.
You could argue this is the moment where they should, though. And I think, again, there are good cases. Like Pissy Leon said, you're looking at this the wrong way. We don't need a defensive player on line one. We need someone who can be an offensive threat and throw the body a bit and win puck battles. And I think, again,
I agree.
If you agree with...
But I agree, but I think you're also looking at this the wrong way and assuming that Janmark's going to be up there for 25 minutes. This is literally a rotation of who's going to be on that line.
Knobloch said it.
He said it. It doesn't, like, Dylan Holloway will play with Connor McDavid this series. I'm assuming game 1. We saw it a bunch in the games while we were down in LA too. Like, I'm not worried, and we shouldn't be just circling like Holloway needs to play more. So this is the playoffs. You always need to put out the best lineup that will win them games, and the circumstance will change throughout, and Holloway will help them win games. He's already helped them a ton in this playoff so far, being in a bottom 6 role. So yes, maybe elevate him a little bit, but I think we'll see him. I think he will be the one that plays the most with McDavid on that wing.
You think he'll be the most at 5-on-5?
With 5-on-5, yeah. I think it'll all be very close. We're talking like 5 minutes, 4 minutes for guys. Like,
yeah, I think him, Janmark, and Fogle could each see around 4 to 6 minutes.
Yeah, like Draisaitl's gonna play some time too. Like maybe that's an overstatement saying he'll be the highest, but with Draisaitl, I kind of forgot about him. But like out of that group, I would say they would rely on Holloway maybe a little bit more.
Be interesting. What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.